So, what did you think about today's panel?
I think I was only here for the last panel, but it was really, really, really interesting. It definitely wasn't what I expected. It was some great debates going on stage, which I appreciated. Just like when the Reverend mentioned about the family structure and how the mayor talked about how, this is this is the same thing that you're talking about that happens in African American and brown families, happens in mine, and I'm Polish, and there was like a connection there. So I appreciated that point. Overall, it was a really, really, really good. I took a lot of good notes.
Awesome. Which part of the panel stuck out to you the most? What was your favorite part?
My favorite part, like I was kind of so infatuated with the Reverend and his thoughts and his theories. So he kind of, every time he spoke, I was like, glued on onto him because he hit a lot of things that, like, some of the things that I thought about and knew about already, and some of the things that I never even thought to, like, bring together. As far as even we talked about the flash mobs versus when at Villanova when they have the crawl and how that's viewed differently in the media, and how you don't really hear about that because that's definitely something that I never even knew existed, and how it could be the same form of a flash mob, but one is perceived differently, and it's also about how the community either rejects or accepts them. Like, as far as them being African American, I feel like with their flash mob, they're rejecting them because they already are perceiving them to be some type of danger to the community. Versus when the white students from Villanova does it, they're more protected, they're accepted, meaning like, okay, you're going to have your little fun, but I'm gonna make sure you get home safely. It's definitely a difference there. So I think that was my best part.
So, Sarah, what did you think about today's discussion?
I was really surprised. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, but I'm really grateful that I did. Each panelist had something wonderful to add to the discussion, and I really enjoyed that I took something different, and my thoughts really developed over the course of each discussion. So I stayed for 3, and they all had something to offer. Each time I kind of resonated with a specific panelist, and it really helped me to build on my ideas and to have the confidence to make a comment at the end. And I felt really welcomed and wonderful from the whole experience. Yeah.
Awesome. What part of any of the panel discussions that you attended today stuck out to you the most?
I would say on the very last one, the Girl Scout leader. I don't know her official title, unfortunately, but she really struck me as a strong role model, and I felt that was important for all the audience members, that everyone could resonate with the power that she kind of possessed and how she harnessed it, and was very clear with her thoughts. All of them really had something to offer, but she really stuck out to me. I don't know if it's because I was a Girl Scout, but yeah, it was wonderful.
Awesome.
And so the question that sort of comes about is that what did I get out of the panel discussions for today? One of the things is that I like the energy and the synergy of people bringing ideas together and how it works organically. Because from there, it's almost like it's a building process. So therefore, when you hear other people give their perspective on a particular issue, you sort of take it in, you process it, and you say, okay, I can see how this direction can go. I can see where this analysis could have come from, and it helped me to sharpen my own perspective. So what I got out of the panel discussions today was pretty much, and what I wanted to get out, and I did get out, was that just hearing other colleagues' perspective, and for my perspective to be nuanced. So it's not just necessarily where I came in and I wasn't transformed because I came in with an agenda. I actually came in with being receptive to whatever was presented, and then being responsive to what was presented. And so the next question was,
what do you want students to take away from this type of panel discussion?
Well, for me, and one thing I want students to take away is this idea about stigmatizing people and not necessarily recognizing their humanity. I think that's a part of the breakdown of not recognizing when you stigmatize a person, and when you come in with a perspective already about an individual, you already have dehumanized them. And to me, that's a part of criminalization. Not that you've criminalized a person, you've actually criminalized yourself. What I do is that I like to take lynching photos, okay? I hate lynching photos, but I take them as a teaching tool. And what I do is that I take out the image of the lynching victim, and I say, look at the crowd. So therefore, it's not the object, which is the lynched person, that's on display. It's actually the crowd that's on display. So therefore, in essence, what I would like students to take away, be responsive to what you heard. So for example, we were talking about the prison industrial complex, okay, and we were talking about, let's say, a Trayvon Martin, Eric Gardner, the symbolic them, not necessarily the persons or biographies per se, but the symbolic of what they represented. So therefore, what do you take away from that stigmatized body that's going to help you to interrogate a criminal justice system in a prison industrial complex? So what are the nuances? And one thing about power is, as Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a struggle. How eventually will you get entangled in the system? Because it's one thing about a hungry entity. It wants to be fed, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So eventually, the dehumanization of one person or one group of people, how eventually would that impact people who think that they are isolated and insulated from that type of marginalization? And so I want the students to sort of get away, I want them to sort of walk away with, first of all, knowing what was the prison industrial complex, how the educational system and the foster care system feed into the prison industrial, how does it create a client base for the prison industrial complex? And then most of all, how does that person that is now a number, because a prisoner is given a number, they're an inventory, how does that dehumanize the individual? And then eventually, how can that dehumanization impact you? And that's what I want them to get away with, or that's what I want them to walk away from, interrogating something that, or interrogating a system that they thought could have been just. But when you sort of look at the factors as associated with it, is it a justice system? Is it a justice system? So that's what I want them to walk away with. Interrogation.
Wonderful. So what did you think about today's panel discussion?
I thought it was awesome. I thought that this was a wonderful opportunity for leaders throughout the region to get together to really talk about some important work, an important report, and important research, and a difficult topic. And I think that the university should be proud to have convened such a really awesome group of leaders to talk about a difficult subject. So I enjoyed it.
Wonderful. What are you hoping students take away from this sort of experience?
You know, it was I think a day for students to be open and perhaps reflective. And I think at the end of my panel session, I shared with the students, it's called the power of one, which is if there's one thing that resonated with the students today, one issue, one topic that they're more curious about, one question that they had, if they would, or one item that they felt like they wanted to commit to, just do it, commit to it, and make a difference. And so everyone has the power. Everyone has the power to change one thing or make some one thing happen. And I would encourage the students here to do that.
What did you think about today's panel discussion?
I think it was a wonderful opportunity to get folks together from different experiences and backgrounds to talk about something that's so pivotal in our community. You know, a lot of times we have notions of what race and what socioeconomic status means, but how often do we get a chance to critically analyze it? And I think this panel gave us a wonderful opportunity to do that.
Wonderful. What are you hoping students take away from this type of experience?
You know, one thing I always tell my students in my classes at Drexel is that they need to think critically, right? So whatever you read, you need to think about it critically. This was actually my first time actually reading the Moynihan report. I never read it to date because, in part, I was born well after it was published. But in reading it today, I was able to think, oh my goodness, this is interesting. Have we thought about gender? Have we thought about what socioeconomic status really means? Have we thought about to what extent we actually attempt to integrate men of color into the workforce, and what are the implications of all those things? So the bottom line for me, and what I would love for students to take away from this experience, is that it's very important that we think about these things critically.
So, Reverend, what did you think about today's panel discussion?
I was actually pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure what this was going to be. I thought it was engaging. I thought the moderator had wonderful questions, and the panel seemed to flow well. And we got to the heart of the matter quickly. So I was really encouraged by the nature of the dialogue and the substance of the conversation.
Awesome. What do you want students to take away from this sort of panel discussion?
I want them to take away that The Moynihan report was limited in its scope, but has relevance for today. That we still need to deal with the race issue in America, but we have the tools, we have the resources. We've come a long way. We have a long way to go, but if we're willing to be brave and have these kind of conversations, I think we're going to make it the rest of the way.
This country is still got a strong and persisting streak of racism in it, and it gets to all of us. It's not just that we are all racist, but we are so easily willing to go along with racism, and none of us who isn't guilty of this.